I'm Devin Kennemore. I am the founder of Paul's Wellness and paulswellness.org. Here with Ryan Schwartz. I pronounced that correctly, right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay. And he is the creator and founder of mentalhealthmatch.com. And from reading the blog that you wrote about why you created it, essentially it started kind of like your friend was looking at dating sites, setting up profiles to find his life partner. And you thought, because your therapist essentially is a partner for a very long time.
It's true. I mean, so part of it started when I was in kind of a crisis mode. My mom had suddenly died. We were really close. It was very unexpected. And I was like searching for a therapist and trying to find some professional help in that moment. And it was just a struggle to find the right person. I would bounce around. People would have these suggestions and I'd go and it wasn't a fit. And I was like, a lot of like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, I don't need that, right? And so, and so it was within that same time frame that my friend, we were in a coffee shop, and I was sitting there looking for a therapist online and Googling around, and they were setting up a dating profile. And I just was like, how is it that in 5 minutes they're being matched with potential life partners and I can't find just a mental health professional that can see me through this? And so I started thinking about, how can we use that kind of technology and that kind of setup to remove barriers for people to find the mental health that is right for them?
One of the things we talk about is the barrier to care, and that can be pretty much anything: cost, scheduling, location, things like that. At our last conference, one of the therapists actually said that it's good to be able to get a 15-minute consultation just over the phone because you may not have that rapport. And like you said, you lost your mom, and they're very sorry you lost your mom, but they don't really give you anything outside of that. So I definitely can see where that would be frustrating. I mean, I haven't lost a parent yet, but just in grief period, you want someone that can help you pick back up with your day-to-day without having that wave of emotion happen. So with the barrier to care, expensive. When I was trying to find one through my insurance, everyone I called told me, you've got a 6-week wait. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, if I'm in a crisis now, 6 weeks, I don't know what's going to happen. Okay, we'll dial an emergency number. Well, now I got to take off time from work because if you call the emergency services, it's 3 days that they can essentially determine themselves if you need to go to a hospital. And you're kind of involuntary or voluntarily committed to 3 days of not working, and if this happens during the week, where do you turn? How do you explain it to your job? Things like that. So I think it's really good that this resource is out there. I've actually gone on myself and done a few matches, and what I was impressed with were all of the different areas that you listed. So dealing with grief, if you have a diagnosis already and you know what you're dealing with and what type of therapist you need, I thought that was really good because a lot of people are just going because they know they need someone to talk to. Mm-hmm. But, if you dive deeper, maybe you just get a basic therapist at first and then you realize you have some other things you need to work on. Just even the life goals, a lot of people don't think about that. Going to see a therapist about your life goals and having someone to bounce those ideas off of and kind of dive into why is it driving you? Is this a passion of yours? Is it money? What are you motivated by? So I thought that was really impressive.
Thanks. Yeah, we did a lot of research with people about kind of what's important for them. So there's a lot of research out there that says that the most important thing for therapy is that you feel fit with your therapist. There's very little research about what creates that fit. It's something that we're trying to figure out. And so one of the things that we try to do is by giving people choices of what to click on, and they can score like, okay, like what am I feeling right now? And there's some words to click on. I think in that process, they can also help think about why they're going to therapy. So maybe there's something going on and that's the reason, but then they start looking and go, well, yeah, I had some childhood trauma, and and I'm feeling a little lost, and I do feel like I experience discrimination or oppression on a daily basis, and you can click on these things and it helps get you to the right person. And I think that's one of the barriers that we're helping people overcome is figuring out who is going to be that good fit for them based off of all the things that might be going on.
And that's one side of it. So if I'm searching for a therapist, that's great. So what does a therapist have to do to get on your site? What do you ask of them?
They just sign up. It's really, they create a profile. Right now, everything is in a free pilot. Eventually, to kind of sustain what we're trying to do, we'll probably charge them like a monthly fee. But right now, everything is free. They just go to mentalhealthmatch.com and they can start creating a profile. We validate that they have an active license to practice in the state of Texas, so that they're all licensed. And then they provide us some information. And what's really cool is that the therapists speak a whole different language sometimes, and that can be really intimidating. And people just don't know, right? And so, people tell me, like, I wish I could see a therapist and talk to them about my dreams. I'm like, oh, you can't. There's like a whole way that people do that, and some of it's called like dream analysis, and some of it's called Jungian analysis, and there's a term that people don't realize. And so therapists can use their own language and say, oh, I do Jungian and this and that, and we'll translate that so then we can ask somebody and say, oh, you're interested in talking about your dreams. This is going to be matched for you. You don't have to know all the words and its terminology. They just go on, therapists just go on, tell us their license number, we check it, and they give us some information about who they are and the type of practice. And we do matching on all sorts of different types of traits and backgrounds. The more therapists tell us about themselves, the better we can give them a match.
Well, I also like that you have the blog section on your page. From what I saw, there's therapists that are actually, 5 things about this subject, 5 things about that. Your personal one, just as to why you created it, was on there. Will all of your blogs be written by therapists? What type of information are you looking to portray on that page for everyone to look at?
Well, that's a great question. And first of all, your blog is so nicely laid out. I'm so jealous because our blog is the content's there, but we're trying to work on the way out. I was like, oh, we should look at blog. That is how you do a blog. Right now we want all the information from therapists who are on the site because it is kind of like a way to get professional advice, and especially if you can't see somebody for a week or you really need some information now. It's a really great opportunity to find that. And really what we're about is also helping people find a therapist. So to be able to look at that information and say, if this really resonates with me, maybe I should talk to this person. Maybe I should see this person or have a free consultation with them and see if they're the right fit for me. So we really let therapists kind of share whatever they're working on or whatever their passions are, and then we want to help folks by that. And people come to the site for all sorts of things and what they're looking for, and we're going to try to make sure that we also have a lot of content from therapists that can help them find what they're looking for.
I also know you have the Facebook page as well, so just make sure we all know that that's out there. And I see a post every morning from a blog, and it's not necessarily one written for the site, but Facebook is a wealth of lots of information and different sources, so it's really good to know that it's not just go on here and find your match, but if you follow it on Facebook, I don't know, are you on Instagram or any others?
We are on Instagram as well, Mental Health Match on Instagram.
So it's a good thing to know because you may not be looking for a therapist right now, you may have one, but it also has lots of information and different articles and perspectives on mental health. And I thought that was pretty cool because there's so much information out there, but no one really knows where to go look. They look at psychology today, but these are professionals talking about stuff. These are professionals giving you professional advice, not necessarily, hey, I've lived with it and I did this and it worked for me. So that's been the biggest thing that impressed me about the site was that it wasn't created by a group of doctors that said, hey, we're going to do this so that we can get more clients. It was a person looking for a therapist and needing to find someone that worked for them, not just they fit my insurance or I can pay them this much and be okay. So.
Yeah, thank you. I know we were talking about we put this thing out there. Does anybody see it, right? So it's really nice to know that you look at the social media. And it is important that we're trying to provide that perspective to folks to help folks understand what therapy is about, and to make it seem like something that is worth it. And it is, right? And if you get through therapy, you can speak to that, but a lot of folks are kind of intimidated by it. So that's what we're trying to use our social media for. And it is really, a lot of it is created from this perspective of what it's like to go out and try to find a therapist. And so, I had my moments, and then I started talking to people about it. And I had friends who'd say, I tried to find a therapist and I just got lost in the search and no one got back to me. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just stopped. Or people telling me that it was easier for them to do a job search and go get a job than it was to go find mental health care.
Oh, definitely.
So that's really what we're trying to change and create something that is really different and easy and affirming. So hopefully folks can go through the site and feel, oh, like other people are on this journey too, and our journeys are different, but they have similarities. We're not alone in life. This is a step I can take.
Right. Just you hear a lot about the stigma of mental illness and mental health even. When I had a conversation yesterday with someone, and she was talking about an incident that happened, I guess it was in Virginia, where the guy went and killed 12 people and things like that. And I said, it's funny because in the mainstream, that's when you hear about mental health and mental stability, when someone snaps and hurts a bunch of people or causes some mass catastrophe. But the reality is it's a day-to-day thing for a lot of people, and they're not out about to hurt anyone. They're just trying to navigate life and figure out how to be okay today. A lot of times it's just for today. I'll deal with tomorrow when that comes. So how do you think mental health matches can help?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a daily thing for a lot of people, but a lot of people with that, and there's different ways of dealing with that, and the more you know your feelings, the more you can start to realize that and have vocabulary to talk about it. And so I think that this is something that a lot of people, when those incidents happen, it's like, oh, that's a mental health thing over there. It's not my thing, right? I'm not going to go kill people, so this is not pertaining to me. And so what we try to make it seem is actually the day-to-day things that people struggle with. Those are mental health things, right? So, and people don't realize that. I talk to people all the time. Like, I wish there was a therapist who, specializes in folks who face discrimination. There are, right? I wish there was a therapist for somebody who, I'm having a hard time finding a job. I feel kind of lost. I wish there was therapists who really specialize in that. There are, right? And those are some of those daily struggles that I think a lot of people experience. Even just being stressed and anxious, or stuck in traffic and angry, right? Like these are all mental health pieces, and so part of it is helping people make those connections. Like, yeah, you can talk about that, and therapy is really about that process of understanding yourself better, getting some frameworks for thinking about things, getting vocabulary for thinking about those, and so we do try to show that those day-to-day things are what therapy is really about, and kind of change perceptions about that. The other thing is we try to pull in voices of celebrities that are starting to change that conversation. So that we do that through our social media. Like Jay-Z said, therapy saved his marriage, right? But it's like, how do we make that voice louder so people realize, like, okay, well, look, if Jay-Z can go to therapy, Common can go to therapy, like I go to therapy, right? Like I too can go to therapy. They have money, but there's also lots of options. There's a lot of sliding scale therapists in Houston who will negotiate with you whatever you can afford. There are free clinics that you can go to. And so we're compiling those right now. We have that available. And when you use the site, we ask you what your budget is for therapy. And if we don't have anyone on the site who can match with that, we're going to show you places that can and steer you there. So there are options for all sorts of budget. And I think we don't want that to be the excuse. Like a lot of people say, okay, well, I can't afford it. But you can. And there's options, like even for free therapy. And so we want folks to be able to be confronted that the only thing holding you back is your own mentality and your own hesitation to kind of explore yourself and have a deeper understanding of yourself.
Like I said, I'm very impressed and I'm excited about it because as a single woman, I was on dating sites and I would always say, okay, after all this information, you ask me a billion questions, I get 5 matches and they don't really match, we don't mix. So it was really interesting to me to take the different perspective from the mental health aspect and say, okay, I'm going to use this information to get a therapist. One of the options that you can click on is, have you experienced trauma or something like that? And I thought that was interesting because I've heard from someone who used to live in New York and was down the street from the World Trade Center on 9/11. And they talked about how it didn't click that he would need help because he survived and he moved. And, you know, he left New York, but he had to leave because it was too hard to go back. And he had to reach out to his EAP program and, you know, figure out how to move past that. And I thought, like I said, I thought it was interesting because we don't think about how those things that we see on the news impact us. We don't think about all of the things that happen in our lives. Like you said, childhood trauma, like a lot of people don't, well, what's childhood trauma? I was a kid. What was traumatic about it, you know? And it could be your parents split when you were little. It could be you lost a grandparent very young that you were very close to. So I really appreciate that you took the time to create something like this because I have medical insurance, and even using it, it's, you know, they send you a list. With EAP programs, you call, and I've experienced this in the last couple of months. You call, you say, I need a therapist, you give them your zip code, and they send you a list. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you what they specialize in, they don't tell you what it's going to cost, they don't tell you anything but their name, their location, and their credentials. So you just kind of blindly have to pick and call and see who has something available. And, you know, if you're looking for someone with, you know, life experience, you know, I know for some women, they want a woman therapist. Yeah. Or an African-American person might say, I want an African-American therapist that can relate to me when I say I feel discriminated against. They don't have that information for you. And then even still, you call, how long do you have to wait for an appointment? I actually got pretty lucky. He was ready to take me in a couple days, but that hasn't always been my experience. So having another option to go out there and say, I need this and I need that, and I live here, and it kind of give me a list or match me with someone, and I have the option to call and find something that's very much needed, especially in the Houston area. It's so big. There's so many options out there. Some people are self-pay, some people go through insurance, so it's just who's going to work. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about at the conference, the therapist said, location is important, but she also pointed out your therapist shouldn't become just as much of a stressor or a burden as everything you're dealing with. And a lot of times people run into that and they stop, or they just don't go anymore. Right. They just don't go at all because this is a problem. I can't afford it. It's too far. Yeah. My work hours, you know, when you work a 9 to 5, having to say, hey, I need to take off once a week to go to therapy, your job kind of looks at you. And then if you don't have an environment where you can say, hey, I'm in therapy because I deal with this, what do you do?
Yeah, that I think is the conversation that we're hoping changes, right? Like it's people, I try to model that with people. I'm like, oh, when I was at my therapist the other day, or when I'm at therapist, like it's okay just to say those things. Right. And make space for that. But those lists are hard, right? I mean, the insurance list, like I would say, if your car breaks down and you need a mechanic, that's fine. Give me a list and I can go around. But like, if somebody, like a therapist, you really got to connect with them and feel like you're in good hands with them. And so we try to create ways that that personality shines through a little bit, so you can actually get a sense of who is this person, what are they bringing, what kind of perspectives do they bring with them, and so, and is this going to be the right fit for me? I like the trend pictures. Right? Like, something so simple as just a picture, but yeah, it's important to feel that. You know, so we just actually redid the site, and it's required now. You have to show a picture.
Right. I mean, just like if you want to date someone, or even just friend requests on Facebook. If they don't have a picture, most people don't add them because I don't know who you are. I can't see you. You might have a familiar name, but I don't know you. So when you're thinking about a therapist who you're about to essentially go tell all your deep, dark secrets, you want to know what they look like. Is this someone I'm going to be able to sit for an hour a week, sometimes twice a week or more, if you're in that type of situation, and be comfortable? Do I feel a sense of warmness? I mean, you can get a lot from a picture. We all know that. So I think that, like I said, it just is amazing to me that, one, you thought of it just sitting in a coffee shop. It seems like this would take like a brain trust. You imagine it took a brain trust to come up with something like this, but it's very awesome site, and I'm glad it's out there.
Thank you. It has been a brain trust. I had that idea sitting there, but it has been, we've worked with over 100 therapists who have provided input. We've worked with probably over 100 folks looking for therapy who have also provided input without doing many iterations. And we're always finding people and always improving it. And so it really has been a lot of people because this is so important. And there's such nuance to it, right? To really understand how to do this right. So I'm talking about it now, but there's been so many people who have been part of this and folks throughout Houston. So.
Any plans to expand beyond Houston?
At the moment, we're really focused on Houston. We're still trying to get it right and make sure that we've got the best things set up. Right. And every day we're asking for feedback from folks. And so when we feel like we've got it right, we'll start bringing it elsewhere. Now it's interesting because therapists have signed up from Austin and San Antonio doing teletherapy, so remote therapy, which we were talking about on how sometimes location is a barrier, but a lot of therapists offer remote therapy. So maybe you come meet them once in person, but then you can get on a Skype session or FaceTime, or you can get them a call and have an appointment that way. Right. And so we're trying to make that available to folks. And the way it works is you have to be licensed in the state that the person is in. So anyone in Austin or El Paso can work with folks in Houston, and they're also on the site.
I like the idea. Busy lifestyle, sometimes you don't have an hour out of the day to go and sit, but you might be able to Skype while you're sitting in traffic. If you live in Houston. And you drive from Missouri City to Kingwood every day, you have an hour and 15 minutes right there.
Oh my gosh, you're making me nervous. People driving doing all sorts of things. I'm like shaving back there and having therapy.
A lot of times you're sitting.
Yeah, no, I'm
sitting.
Oh, I know it.
I'm just saying, even if it's just a phone call, people talk on their phones all the time, hands-free. Legally, you have to be hands-free. But I make phone calls on the way home because when I get home, I have stuff I have to do. Yeah, so I just think that new ways to just innovate in therapy. I mean, you don't have to go lay on someone's couch every week. You can, like you said, meet them person, and then throughout the month you do the remote conference or the remote counseling session, and then maybe you guys come up with a schedule to do in person. Because I know there are some therapists that believe that that's what you have to do, but I think that helps a lot of people. One of the things I do want to ask you is just your feedback on pause. I've taken it a little further and taken a bit of a new direction these last couple of months, but I'm assuming you've been following it at least for the most of the year. So I'd love to hear your feedback on pause.
Yeah. Before I get there, can I say something you said? I brought something up, which is one of the things that we're trying to do is change the stereotypes of therapy. And so for a lot of folks, therapy is sitting and talking, sitting in the chair on the couch. But there are therapists in Houston, but there are therapists in Houston that will walk and talk with you. There's therapists in Houston. I have a friend who's a therapist. She does rock climbing. You could do dance or yoga, make art, right? There's all these different ways of expressing yourself that therapists have integrated. You could be around nature, you could be around horses. So this horse therapy is really interesting because horses are a really good read of human emotion. And so you may feel like, oh, I'm fine, but you're carrying this energy about you, and a horse will read it. And so being just even around the horse, you start to get that feedback. And you're saying, okay, this horse doesn't feel comfortable with the energy. And you realize that maybe I'm not fine, like there is something going on. So there's all these different ways to do therapy, and I think it's really cool to find one that works for you with you're comfortable with and you express yourself. I love pause because it feels so authentic and personal, and these are the stories that change people when they realize that, oh, I do know somebody who can be open about how they're feeling, what issues they're facing, and giving vocabulary to talk about it, and just modeling how to talk about these things. I know you posted recently about physical health and bodily health and how that relates with mental health, and I think that's something a lot of people go through, and they don't realize it. I'm feeling sick, I go to a doctor or whatever, but not thinking about the mental health aspect of what that's like when your body doesn't feel 100%. I really love the way that you model that for folks, and giving people a way to see themselves in their own journeys and the stories that you tell. So I think that personal aspect is key. Thank you.
Like I said, I'm always amazed when people come and tell me something that's resonated with them on the site, because a lot of times I think I'm talking to myself. I think, it's my best friend watching when I see that little one on a live video that I do. So I always just assume, oh, it's the same people watching over and over again. But I'm discovering now that there are more people coming, just looking at stats, which I never did because, you know, oh, 5 people came to the site. They probably just clicked and clicked back off, you know. So it's amazing to me the feedback that I've gotten over the last couple of months just with it, because just like in any aspect of your life, when you're doing something and you get to a place where you feel drained and you don't want to do things, like the first thing to go is usually that side thing, that passion thing. It's because it doesn't fund you, it doesn't take care of the bills, it doesn't do that. So there was a point where I was like, okay, no one's really watching, so maybe I need to take a break. But within 3 days of saying that, I had this outpouring of support. I had an outpouring of, hey, I need you to post. And it was, one, it kind of snapped me back into reality that I wasn't doing this for me. It was for other people in the first place. Even though I needed my break, me taking a break could impact you, or it could impact someone else who really needed to hear from me in that moment. So I appreciate the feedback, and I love that people are still coming and commenting and sending emails and things like that, because it does kind of keep me going when I feel like no one's watching anyway, no one's going to notice if I stop. So something that came to mind while you were speaking, as a parent, a lot of times, you know, a lot of parents, we don't think our kids need therapy. And we don't look for a therapist for them. We might say, okay, we could use some family counseling, but it kind of falls by the wayside because, you know, you get caught up in, we got soccer, we got, you know, we have this, we have that, we have vacation this week. So are there any plans to incorporate, you know, just specifically child psychologists? Because we have teenagers. I think the rates for teen suicides have tripled in the last decade.
Yeah.
Is there any plan to expand that so that we can try to start combating that in a way, in a professional way, with the therapist really focused on that, and parents can know what to look for and know who to, and if they think their teen needs one, they can go on the site, fill out, you know, the same questionnaire that they would fill out for themselves and get a team, someone that can specialize in what their teens need.
Yeah, so first of all, I think everyone needs therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. Or your kid should go to therapy, because nobody is going to teach your kid about how to think about their emotions, how to understand what's happening, how to label them and talk about them, and have that communication. And that is not a subject that they're going to teach often in schools, and so I think it's good for kids to have that space. So child therapy is kind of a different setup. There's different ways of doing it. There's different types of specialties. And so we had wanted to really be able to plan that and get something really comprehensive. So we said just for adults at the moment. And then so people weren't like, okay, forget it, we're going to make it work anyways. And so we have lots of therapists who signed up. And even though we say like it's not for child therapy yet, they're making it about child therapy. We have lots of people using the site. And so we say we're not set up for child therapy. They're using it to find therapists for their children. So they kind of beat us to it, and so you can use it, but we don't feel like it's the best it can be yet. We definitely want to make it that way, and I think that's huge, and we can bring in and show that there's great matches and good places to go for therapy.
Have you been getting your success stories yet? I'm sure you launched it, 2 months ago?
Yeah, it's been almost 2 months.
Yeah, so I'm sure you've gotten some success stories and people's feedback in terms of, I got this therapist from your site and they've been amazing.
Yeah. So we do have some really great stories. In general, we don't keep data on people, so it's all anonymous. So we can't go follow up and say like, how do I work? No. Have that. But I did talk to a therapist the other day who saw somebody who came to the site, and this person was doing some things that was harmful to themselves, some substance abuse, and this therapist specializes in this, and this person had told the therapist, like, this is my first time in therapy, I never thought I would go, and I saw this blog article about mental health plans, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting, like, landed at the site. And it was one of the things that they weren't even looking for substance abuse help, and as they started clicking on things, they were like, oh, you know what, there is some substance abuse going on, and they clicked it. And they said I would have never made it to therapy, right? wasn't there to make it so easy, and now they're in therapy, they're seeing a substance abuse specialist, they're working on the ways that they're harming themselves. And, I just think that like I heard that story and I cried because I was like, this is why we're doing this, to help people easily connect and move forward with their own journey in a way that's really helpful for them.
Right. And you mentioned they were seeking help because they were harming themselves and they had substance abuse issues. You know, you have to realize like this site just saved that person's life, because self-harm can go from one extreme to the next, and substance abuse is kind of Russian roulette with anybody. So I know it's hard, because it's hard for me when someone reaches out and says, I'm so glad you posted that, it kept me from this, because you don't want to take that on. But I think it's amazing that you got that story, because you can hold on to that and keep that and push you forward as you develop. And when it gets frustrating because this little ticker doesn't do what you want it to do, I have that. I have that. It doesn't look the way I want it to look. But you know, when you have that frustration, like I said, you essentially save this person's life, because it's Russian roulette when you're dealing with those two issues, you know. And not finding that therapist when they did was probably a moment where they were like, I need help, or this is going to continue and this is getting worse. So I want to say thank you for that, because there's one person walking around out there that might not have been here if that site wasn't available, because it is hard to find someone that will speak to what you need to talk about. So
I was going to say the same thing about pods, because we were talking earlier and said, well, there's 5 people that looked at it, they're probably just pods. But it's like, it just takes one, right? And one of those little numbers on your statistics might be somebody whose life just got changed because they saw your story, they could read it, they could read the advice and what you put on your blog. And I think that's the message for anybody. Like, it's okay to talk about these things, because we all feel it, right? Like life is hard. It is a struggle, and we feel that, and we should be able to talk about that, because that's where connection, community, and change happens. So the more people that talk about it, I commend you for having a blog and being open in that way. But even if it's somebody who just decides to tell their friend, that conversation can have a huge impact on countless lives. And so just keep talking about it, right?
And when you say that, like, I can think of the number of conversations I've had where someone's just said, yeah, I go to therapy once a month, and it's like, oh, I do too. And then you have something to connect over, and then, you know, if you're in a place where you can't see your therapist that day, you'll be like, hey, I'm kind of dealing with this. Have you ever experienced that before? Because a lot of times, some of the best advice comes from your peers that have been in the position you're in, especially, you know, if you work in the same field, if you work in the same place and you're dealing with the same people, having a common ground and say, okay, this happened today with this person, and if they've had experience, I mean, just to be able to have those conversations. One, it used to be completely taboo. You never told anyone you were in therapy. You never told anyone your doctor puts you on medication, because what's wrong with you? Are you crazy? Like, that word has been taken, and it can mean so many things now. But I think it's, like you said, that one person. You know, I have what I call my sponsors. I don't have an addiction, but, you know, they know when I'm going through a manic phase. They know when I'm masking everything that's going on, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. And they're, well, okay. And they'll give me that for a little while, but then sit down, we need to talk. So even if you're not seeing a professional that day, having someone to talk to is really amazing and can ultimately save your life. So I was very honored that you were willing to sit with me and do this.
I felt the same way. Thank you. Thank you. And for folks who are watching, like, come join us. Come share your story and talk with us.
It's all about sharing stories. And just to share with you, next May, I don't know if you watched my mental health post for Mental Health Awareness Month. I posted for 31 days straight. I don't recommend that to anybody. 31 days of talking about mental health, going live every day was a task. And then my grandmother passed 3 days into it. So it was like, I wanted to give up, but I kept pushing, and I finished the month out, and I've not been so relieved in my life for June 1st to come. But I was so happy that day. I was like, I don't have to post today. But next year, what I want to do is 31 different stories of mental health and mental health awareness, and people who have been touched by it in some way, people who are out there trying to change the story. And I would love to have you do your own story, and I mean, part of this interview, be a part of that and share that with whoever's following me at that point.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to ask you that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, as we're watching, there's the other 30 stories.
I'm sure. I'm certain. So, anything else you want?
Thanks for all that you do. It's conversations like this that change people one at a time. And we're getting there.
Thank you for that, Simon, because I went on it just to see what would come up, and it was interesting. Like, just doing a quiz for me was interesting because it has me thinking about what I might need to take back to my therapist and say, hey, we should talk about this today. You know, they have their own plan, but I like to be able to.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this.
Yeah,
I know you think that's right now. This is what I think. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, thank you. I'm glad you made that. I'm glad that we connected. That's